Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too.
I never thought my life would get tied to a Dollar Tree, let alone in a way that still shakes me awake years later. Back in 2015, my world was already falling apart piece by piece, like somebody had taken a hammer to the glass inside me, and I was still pretending I wasn't bleeding. I'd just left my hometown of Willow Creek, Ohio, after my dad passed unexpectedly from a stroke. I wasn't ready to deal with the grief, the relatives, the quiet house, the smell of his coffee mug that still sat in the sink for 2 weeks because I couldn't touch it. So I ran straight to a tiny town in rural Pennsylvania called Hartville, a place where the only remarkable landmarks were a highway exit and a water tower so rusty it looked like tetanus waiting to happen. I moved into a crappy studio apartment above a closed-down pizzeria. The stairs creaked like they were filing noise complaints with every step, and the hallway always smelled like burnt tomato sauce no matter how many candles I lit. Money was thin, the kind of thin where you count quarters before buying ramen. So I took the first job I could get, the Dollar Tree off Route 19, next to a beat-up laundromat and a vape shop that never had customers but somehow stayed open. They hired me fast, probably because they were desperate, and I was willing to work nights without complaining. My manager, a woman named Jolene, walked me through the store on my first day. She talked fast, waved her hands a lot, and called everyone hon, even the vendors. Closing shift's easy, she told me. Stock a little, clean a little, ring a little, quiet as hell after 9. I liked quiet. After the year I had, quiet felt like medicine, or at least I thought it did. My coworker, Troy, worked mornings. He was in his mid-40s, beard, trucker hat, always smelled faintly of gasoline and Mountain Dew. Good dude, though. Night shift's chill, man, he'd told me on day 2. Just keep the aisles straight. Don't let the teenagers steal the energy drinks, and ignore the freezer when it makes that knocking noise. It's old. Been here since the Civil War, probably. He laughed like it was a joke. I didn't know yet that almost everything he said in that store ended up feeling less like a joke and more like a warning. The Dollar Tree itself was small, just 8 aisles, a dusty stockroom, a break area the size of a coat closet, and lights that hummed loud enough to make you feel like you were losing brain cells. But it was a job, and the routine helped me forget about my dad for a few hours at a time. I'd been working there about 3 months when everything happened. October, cold, windy, the kind of nights where the sky looks bruised. That day, I was scheduled 4 p.m. to close. Jolene left at 4:30, leaving me alone in the building. Totally normal. I'd done this dozens of times. Around 7:50 p.m., a few after-school kids came in. Hoodies, backpacks, loud, smelling like Axe body spray. They bought candy and left. After that, the store emptied. By 8:40, it was dead. Just me, the buzzing lights, and the occasional car passing outside. At 9:15, I was restocking the party aisle when my phone buzzed, a text from my cousin. "Hey, haven't heard from you in a while. You doing okay?" I stared at it longer than I should have. I wasn't okay. I hadn't been okay since the day the paramedics told me they did everything they could. But I didn't have the energy to explain any of that. So I slid my phone back into my pocket and kept stalking. By 9:25, I was at the front counter, just waiting out the last 35 minutes. I pulled out my phone, scrolling mindlessly. The store was quiet. Not peaceful quiet, empty quiet. The kind that feels like the world has its hand over your mouth. Then I heard it, clink, like plastic hitting plastic. Faint but sharp enough to snap me out of my scrolling. I looked up. The sound came from aisle 4, housewares. I waited, listening. Nothing. Probably a plate sliding off, I muttered to myself. Cheap shelves, cheap products. Happens all the time. 2 minutes later, Thump. Much louder. Heavy. Like someone dropped a storage bin. I froze. The front door hadn't opened. No one had come in since 8:20. "Hello?" I called out, trying to sound confident. My voice cracked. "Store's closing soon. If you need something, just let me know." Silence. I swallowed hard and walked toward aisle 4, gripping the edge of my green apron like it could protect me. When I turned into the aisle, I stopped. A stack of plastic bowls was on the floor. Not toppled, placed, like someone had set them down intentionally. I knelt, picked them up, put them back. My hands shook. Something about it felt wrong, like someone was screwing with me. I walked back toward the counter. Crash, right behind me. I spun around so fast I almost tripped. A pack of mason jars was shattered on the floor in aisle 3, glass everywhere. My heart pounded. "Okay, seriously, who's here? This isn't funny." No answer. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Quick, light moving away from me. Down aisle 2. I ran toward the sound. My sneakers slapped the tiles. "Hey, stop!" I rounded the corner into aisle 2, toys, and stopped dead. A little rubber basketball rolled slowly across the floor, bumping gently into my shoe. My stomach dropped. That ball had been on the top shelf. I picked it up with trembling hands. Somebody was messing with the store. Someone who was quiet, fast, and hiding. "Come out," I said, breathless. "Just come out." Something creaked behind me. I turned. At the far end of the aisle, a shadow moved, tall, quick, slipping toward the front registers. I bolted. When I got to the front, my chest seized up. There was a man behind the counter, my counter. Hoodie up, sleeves dirty, face mostly hidden. One knee braced against the register, while he yanked at the drawer like a madman. "Hey," I shouted, "back off. I'm calling the cops." He didn't look at me, just kept tugging, grunting under his breath. "Dude, seriously," I said, voice shaking. "Stop, stop." He slammed his fist against the drawer, then jumped down, moving with frantic energy. He grabbed the second register, shook it violently. It didn't budge. He threw a pen across the counter, snarling something I couldn't hear. Then he ran. He sprinted toward the door, jerked it open so hard the bell screeched and disappeared into the parking lot. I stood frozen. My heart wasn't beating. It was slamming. I ran to the door and locked it, twisting the deadbolt with trembling hands. My breath fogged the glass as I stared into the empty lot. No movement, no figure, nothing but dark pavement and a flickering streetlight. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The dispatcher picked up. 911, what's your emergency? I need police, I stammered. There was a break-in. Someone was inside. He tried to open the registers. He was hiding in the store. I didn't see him come in. He was just here. Stay on the line, she instructed. Are you safe right now? I wasn't, not even close. But I said, I think so, because I didn't want to sound dramatic. Cops arrived in 10 minutes. 2 officers, Rodriguez and Hale. They took statements, checked the aisles, asked me to show them where I'd heard the noises. They walked the back room, the freezer, the stock area. Nothing. No broken lock, no door ajar. He had to slip in before closing, Officer Hale said. Maybe hid in the back. I shook my head. I was in the back at 8:30. No one was there. Rodriguez scribbled in her notebook. You sure? I'm sure. The part that messed me up the most, the part I didn't say out loud, was that I hadn't just not seen him come in. I hadn't heard him move. At all. Those crashes, those footsteps, they were the only times I knew he existed. Any chance you know him? Someone from town? Hale asked. No, I barely know anyone here. They took the security footage. Jolene came in early the next morning to talk to them again. She asked if I was okay. I lied and said yes. The man was never caught. I tried working another shift the next week. but every sound, every little plastic clink, every creak of the freezer made my stomach twist. I kept imagining him crouched somewhere, hiding between shelves just a few feet from where I stood, watching, waiting. I quit 2 weeks later. I told Jolene I found something closer to home. But the truth was, every time I stepped inside that Dollar Tree, the fluorescent lights buzzed louder, the aisles felt narrower, and the quiet felt like a throat closing on me. I moved out of Hartville a month after that, tried to rebuild, tried to sleep without checking my closet 3 times before bed. Even today, whenever I pass a Dollar Tree, even in broad daylight, I feel it again. That same cold ripple down my spine. That same sense that quiet isn't empty. Quiet is hiding something. And you never know how close it is until it wants to be found. I never thought moving back to a small town would change the way I looked at something as simple as a discount store. But that's exactly what happened, because of one night at the Dollar Tree that I still can't fully explain, even now. For most of my adult life, I'd lived in bigger cities, Buffalo first, then Pittsburgh when work dried up. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was manageable. Rent ate half my paycheck, groceries took another chunk, and whatever was left usually went to gas or ramen noodles. But I got by. I burned out, though. Not all at once, more like a slow melt. Long shifts, cold winters, tiny apartments with loud neighbors. It just wore me down until it felt like my bones were tired. So when my cousin Emery called one night and said, "Dude, if you want to come back home, my old landlord has a duplex open. Rent's stupid cheap." I didn't even think twice. 2 weeks later, I was back in Havelock, Ohio, a town with one stoplight and more potholes than people. The duplex wasn't fancy, beige siding, creaky floors, a cracked driveway, but it was mine, and it was quiet, which I desperately needed. The kind of quiet where you could hear the hum of the refrigerator at night and the occasional passing train. The job I found wasn't exciting either. Night shifts at a document shredding facility on the edge of town, but it paid the bills. Plus, I liked working nights. Fewer people to talk to. Life settled into a routine pretty quickly. Wake up late, coffee, work, drive home, microwave something, sleep, repeat. Nothing unusual, nothing weird. Not until that night, not until Dollar Tree. It was a Thursday in late January, cold enough that the air had that painful bite when it hit your lungs. I'd just finished a long shift and realized I was out of trash bags, paper plates, and dishwasher tablets. Considering how far Walmart was from my place and how exhausted I was, I figured I'd hit the Dollar Tree downtown instead. I'd never been inside that one before. I'd passed it 100 times, but never had a reason to stop. It was tucked between a nail salon and an empty storefront with windows covered in yellowing newspaper. The parking lot was always half lit, like the bulbs couldn't decide if they wanted to work. That night, the fluorescent sign flickered like it was short-circuiting, buzzing weakly in the cold wind. I remember parking close to the door because something about the place felt off. Inside, it smelled like lemon cleaner and plastic, the usual Dollar Tree scent cocktail. The floor tiles were yellowed. A portable heater hummed loudly near the front because the overhead heat didn't reach the door. The cashier, a tall kid with freckles and a name tag that said Tanner, nodded when I walked in. "Hey man, how's it going?" "Long day," I said. "Facts," he muttered, tapping something on his phone. There weren't many people inside. Just 3. A middle-aged woman in scrubs picking out gift bags, a bald guy comparing cheap motor oil, and a teenage girl in a giant puffer jacket pacing one aisle over. But then, there was her. At first, I didn't actually register anything strange about her. She looked like anyone else. Oversized hoodie, jeans, Converse shoes, messy hair tied back. But it was her eyes that stopped me. They weren't tired. They weren't sad. They were blank. like she wasn't really looking at the shelves, but at something through them. She didn't have a cart, no basket either, just walking slowly, fingers gently brushing items like she was memorizing their texture. I turned my eyes away, telling myself I was just tired. I headed down the household aisle, grabbed trash bags, paper plates, and the cheapest dish tabs they had. When I turned to leave, she was suddenly behind me. Not close, just there, middle of the aisle, staring down at the floor. Sorry, I mumbled, stepping around her. She didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even seem to notice me. Her fingers kept brushing the shelf. I shook my head and forced a laugh. "All right, buddy," I whispered to myself. "You're just exhausted." But then, she whispered something. Soft, quiet, barely audible. At first I thought it was just air moving through the vents. But no, she said it again. Not this one. Her voice was raw, like someone hadn't used it in days, and I wasn't even sure if she was talking to me. Ignoring her was my first smart choice of the night. Unfortunately, it wasn't the last weird thing I saw. I went to grab frozen burritos, and that's where I saw her again. She was standing at the far end of the freezer section, staring into a freezer case that was completely empty except for frost. No food, no boxes, just ice. "Everything good?" I asked, because apparently I like suffering. No response. She slowly lifted one hand and traced a line in the frost on the glass door. A vertical line, then a horizontal one. Across. My skin crawled. Across. My skin crawled. "Okay," I whispered, stepping back. Right as I grabbed the burritos, I heard a loud clack behind me. I turned and saw her gripping the top edge of the freezer case. At first, I thought she was steadying herself, or stretching, but her feet began lifting off the floor. She was climbing, like actually climbing up the freezer, boots scraping the metal, shoulders straining, fingers hooking the edge. "What the hell are you doing?" I blurted. She froze, mid-climb, and turned her head toward me slowly. Too slowly, like her neck was stiff. Her eyes locked onto mine. Then she whispered, "It's too bright down here." I backed up so fast I nearly slipped. The scrubs woman screamed from behind me. The bald guy yelled, "Yo, get down from there." Even Tanner came running. "Ma'am, you can't, don't do that. What are you, what?" But she didn't listen. She pulled herself up onto the top of the freezer and crouched there like some kind of feral animal, breathing hard. "Ma'am," Tanner shouted, "seriously, get down." Her head jerked toward him. Then she leapt. Not at him. At me. She didn't fall gracefully. She just launched herself and crashed onto the floor 2 feet in front of me. Her knees slammed the tile, palms slapping down, hair falling into her face. I jumped back, arms raised instinctively. "Jesus, hey, relax." She looked up at me, hair hanging over half her face, and whispered, "Not you either." Tanner yelled, "Call 911! Call 911 right now!" But the scrubs woman was already doing it, hands trembling. The girl stood up calmly, not rushed, not angry, just blank. She brushed imaginary dust off her sleeves. Then she said, "Sorry for the mess," and she walked away. Just walked straight down the aisle and out the door, like she'd only knocked over a display, not terrorized everybody. Tanner stared at me, eyes huge. What the absolute hell was that? I shook my head, feeling my heartbeat in my throat. I don't know. Does she come in here often? "No," he said. "I've never, dude, what was she even?" Before he could finish, the woman in scrubs shouted, "Whoa, she's in the parking lot." We all moved to the front windows. Sure enough, the girl was standing in the middle of the parking lot, face turned up to the sky like she was listening to something. Then she started walking, not running, just walking, down the sidewalk and out of view. The cops arrived 10 minutes later, 3 cruisers, lights flashing. They took statements, asked the usual questions, checked security footage. Tanner said, "Dude, tell him what she said. The weird line she made in the frost, the climbing, all that." So I did. The officers exchanged looks. One of them, a woman with short blonde hair, said, "You sure she said not you either?" "Positive." "Did she touch you, follow you, threaten you?" "No." "Then you're probably fine," she said, though she didn't sound convinced. "We'll try to locate her." But they never did. Or so I thought. I left the store shaken, loaded my things into my car, and took the back roads home, the quiet ones with barely any street lights. For a while everything seemed normal, until I saw something move in the ditch beside the road. I slowed down, looked closer, and there, half hidden, was that girl, kneeling, staring into a storm drain, whispering, "No, not you, not you." I floored it, didn't stop to think, didn't breathe until I pulled into my driveway. The next morning, my cousin Emery came over to help fix my dryer. I told him everything while we worked. He frowned. "Man, that don't sound like no regular crazy. You sure she wasn't on something?" "She climbed a freezer like it was a jungle gym," I said. "And she kept whispering weird stuff." "What kind of stuff?" "Not this one. Not you either. Stuff like that." Emery raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like she was looking for somebody." "Yeah," I muttered. "That's what I was afraid of." He didn't laugh. He always laughs. That scared me more than anything. For a week nothing happened. No weird sightings. No whispers. No anything. But every time I drove past a ditch or storm drain, I found myself staring too hard, listening too carefully. I kept replaying the way she had looked at me, not angry, not confused, assessing, like she was categorizing me. Wrong one, not him, not this. But what was she looking for? And why did she think it might be me? A week later, Friday night, I stopped by the same Dollar Tree after work. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed toothpaste and didn't feel like driving across town. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. Tanner wasn't at the register, just an older lady named Lorraine, who smiled when I walked in. "Evening. Cold out there, huh?" "Freezing," I said, grabbing a basket. Only 2 other customers were inside. A couple arguing softly about the price of soap. I went down the hygiene aisle and grabbed toothpaste, mouthwash, and deodorant. I turned to leave and froze. She was standing at the end of the aisle. Same messy hair, same blank eyes, same oversized hoodie. She tilted her head. My throat dried instantly. "Hey," I whispered. You remember me?" No answer. My legs wanted to run but couldn't. I forced out, "Listen, I'm just trying to grab my stuff and go home. Please don't." She slowly reached into her hoodie pocket. I flinched. Her hand came out holding a small piece of cardboard. She held it out to me. I hesitated. "What is it?" "Not you," she said softly, "but close." "What does that mean?" I breathed. She turned her head slightly, like listening to something only she could hear. Then she whispered, "Almost you." That broke me. I stumbled back, nearly dropping my basket. Then she stepped forward, and I bolted. I ran past the couple, past Lorraine, straight into the cold night air. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and watched the entrance like a hawk. But she never exited. I waited. 5 minutes, 10, 15. No sign of her. Finally, I forced myself to go back inside. Lorraine looked confused. "You okay, hun? You ran out of here like you saw a ghost." "Did a girl in a gray hoodie come out?" I asked. "No," she said slowly. "Ain't seen anyone leave for the last 10 minutes." I checked every aisle, every corner, even the stockroom door. She was gone, like she dissolved into the store. The cardboard. I nearly forgot about the cardboard until I was home. When I emptied my pocket, there it was. A torn piece of a Dollar Tree snack box. On the back, written in shaky marker, "Not here." My stomach dropped. Was it a warning? A message? A threat? I didn't know. But 2 nights later, things escalated. Fast. The final night. I was driving home past 11, taking the long road behind the industrial park. No streetlights, no houses, just open fields and the occasional patch of woods. That's when I saw a figure in the middle of the road. I slammed the brakes. The car skidded slightly on the frost. My headlights illuminated her silhouette. Hoodie, messy hair, blank stare. I cursed under my breath. No, 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 what do you want? She stepped closer into the full beam of my headlights. Then she pointed at me and whispered, "It is you." My entire body went cold. I floored it in reverse, tires squealing. She didn't move, just kept pointing. I spun the wheel, did a sloppy U-turn, and sped the hell out of there. Didn't look back, didn't breathe, didn't stop until I reached the gas station near my house. I parked under the brightest light, shaking so hard I dropped my keys twice. There was a man filling up his truck nearby, older guy, rough face. He glanced at me and said, "You all right, bud? You look like you saw death itself." I swallowed. I think someone's following me." "Who?" "A girl. I don't know her name. She's not right." He frowned. "Look, man, if someone's stalking you, call the cops." I nodded, but all I could think was, she said it's me. Why me? I looked around the lot nervously. No sign of her. But when I unlocked my car door, something slipped off the roof and fell onto the asphalt. A piece of cardboard. Another one. My hand shook as I picked it up. 3 words this time. "Found you now." That's when the gas station lights flickered, and from the far end of the lot I heard it. Her whisper. Her voice. Dragging across the cold night. "It's you." I didn't look. Didn't check. I jumped into my car and drove home faster than I'd ever driven in my life. The ending. I didn't call the cops. Didn't tell Emery. Didn't sleep. I sat on my couch with every light on, listening for footsteps outside. None came. Morning eventually arrived. I checked the yard. Nothing. No footprints. No cardboard. No hoodie. I told myself it was over. Told myself she'd moved on. That I wasn't actually the one she was looking for. That it was all some mistake. But 2 weeks later, I returned to Dollar Tree for the first time since everything happened, just to grab batteries. Just a quick stop. Tanner was back at the register. He nodded at me. "Yo, haven't seen you in a minute." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Been busy." As I walked past the front window, something made me stop. On the outside of the glass, in the frost, someone had drawn a symbol, a line down, a line across, the same one she drew on the freezer door. Under it, scratched faintly, "Found him. Not you, not me, him, someone else." But the handwriting, I recognized it instantly. My knees went weak, because now I know. She wasn't following me. She was tracking someone else through me, using me, watching me because he and we look alike, or sound alike, or walk alike, or something. And she's still out there, still searching, still whispering. I don't go to Dollar Tree at night anymore. Hell, I don't go anywhere after dark. But every so often when the wind is just right, I swear I hear it again. Soft, raspy, too close. "Not you. Not you? Not you? Oh, there you are." And I always pray, always, that she's not talking to me. I used to think Dollar Town was just another off-brand budget store trying to ride Dollar Tree's wave. Bright green sign, cheap seasonal crap, plastic bins that cracked if you breathed too hard near them. You know the type. I never expected that place to follow me for the rest of my damn life. But let me start from the beginning. Because you need the whole picture to understand why I don't walk past any dollar store after sundown anymore. Why I still hear things when I close my eyes. Why I still triple check every door behind me. Backstory: my name is Jaron Lyle, and back in 2019, I wasn't exactly in a good place. I'd just moved from Ohio to a small town in northern Louisiana called Bentford Crossing, a place you won't find on many maps unless you zoom in way too far. I left because of my ex, Amber. Long story short, too much yelling, too little trust, and a night where a plate flew past my head a little too close for comfort. So I packed what fit in my beat-up Saturn, promised myself I'd start over, and took the first job I found on Indeed. Dollartown. $10.25 an hour. Part-time. No benefits. Perfect. I told myself it'd be temporary, just something to get me through a couple months. But months turned into a year. A year turned into me learning every aisle number by heart, every drunk regular by first name, and every creak in the damn ceiling tiles. And eventually, I learned something else, something nobody warned me about. Real start. I was working the closing shift on a Wednesday, the deadest day of the week. Usually it was just me and one other person, but that day my coworker called in sick, which in Dollartown language meant she didn't feel like showing up. I didn't blame her. The place felt weird after dark. Those cheap fluorescent lights always flickered like they were scared of something. The aisles felt too quiet, too empty, like the whole store was holding its breath. Sometimes the automatic air freshener went off even though it wasn't scheduled to. Sometimes the motion-activated Halloween toys in aisle 4 chirped at night even when we'd turned the batteries out. But that night was different. It was raining, not heavy, just steady enough to sound like static against the roof. The kind of rain that makes you feel like you're underwater. I had my earbuds in one ear, mopping the floor near aisle 8. Humming along to some late 2000s alt-rock. I remember glancing at the clock on the wall. 9:12 p.m. Almost done, or so I thought. The first sign I heard the door chime. Ding dong. I frowned, peeling the earbud out. Nah, man. We close at 10, I muttered. But I didn't actually say it loud, because the sound wasn't right. It didn't sound like the normal chime. It had a lag, like the bell dragged out half a second longer, like someone had grabbed the air and pulled it. I peeked toward the front. No one. Yo, stop playing, I muttered to myself. I checked the cameras. Nobody had stepped in. Nobody walked out. Maybe it glitched. Cheap stores have cheap sensors. I tried to shrug it off, but my gut told me something was off. I went back to sweeping and turned into aisle 6. I froze so hard my ribs actually hurt. At the far end of the aisle, right by the shelf full of leftover Halloween decor, I saw a figure. Tall. Too tall to be a normal customer. Standing still, but hunched in a way that made human posture look wrong. Hey, I called out, voice cracking more than I wanted. We're closing soon. The figure didn't move, didn't turn, didn't breathe. From where I was standing, it looked like someone wearing a long, dark hoodie, but the hood was pulled way too far forward, covering everything. I swallowed. Sir, you hear me? Still nothing. I took one step forward. The figure took one step back. Not walking, not turning, just sliding. Like someone dragging a cardboard cutout across the linoleum. I swear my whole body turned to ice. Then, it flickered. Not the lights. The figure. Like 1 second it was there. The next it got blurry around the edges, like a bad video feed. I stepped back so fast I knocked over a bin of dog toys. Jesus! When I looked up again, it was gone. The voice. I wasn't imagining it. I know I wasn't. Because a moment later, I heard a voice behind me, a woman's voice, whisper, "Jaren?" I whipped around so hard the mop handle snapped. No one was there. "Who's back there?" I shouted. My voice bounced off the cheap walls, echoing way too long. I grabbed my phone, opened the flashlight, and scanned the aisle. Nothing but plastic pumpkins and discount wrapping paper. But the smell in the air. It wasn't the normal lemon floor cleaner. It smelled like old pennies, like blood. The back room. I ran to the back to check the loading dock because I had convinced myself someone had broken in. But when I got to the storage room, the door was cracked open. It was never cracked open, not on my shift. I pushed it slowly. The room was dark, except for one flickering light above the steel shelves. Boxes were scattered everywhere, like someone had been digging through them. "Hello?" I called out. Nothing. I stepped inside, heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. That metallic smell was stronger in here. I reached for the chain to pull the light on, the main light, and that's when I heard it. "You shouldn't be here." A man's voice this time. Low, behind me. I spun around and flashed my phone toward the doorway. No one. But the door, which had been open, was now closed. I lunged for it, grabbing the handle. Locked. I wasn't supposed to be able to lock it from the inside. My hands began shaking uncontrollably. "Hey, whoever's doing this, it's not funny." Then something tapped my shoulder. Cold, wet, like a fingertip dipped in ice water. I screamed and jumped forward so hard I slammed into the shelves, knocking over a box of Mardi Gras beads. They rolled across the floor like little plastic ghosts. The thing, and then I saw it. Under the shelves, bent backward, head turned at an angle no human neck could tolerate. Eyes pitch black, not dark, black, like holes cut out of reality. Its mouth moved first, like it was trying to remember how to smile. Then it whispered, "I know you." I stumbled backward, tripped over the beads, scrambled for the door, yanking on the handle until it finally gave way. I ran, didn't look back, didn't breathe. The phone call. When I reached the front of the store, I grabbed the landline and dialed my manager, Reese. He picked up on the third ring. "Yo, Jaren, you good?" "No, man. Someone's in the store. Something's in the store. I'm calling the cops." "Bro, calm down. They're probably..." Then he paused. "Wait, what store are you at?" "What?" "Dollartown, obviously." A long silence. "Jaren," he said finally, voice lower, slower. "I'm looking at the schedule right now. You weren't supposed to close tonight." "What?" "Yes, I was. You told me yesterday." "No, I didn't. I was supposed to close, but I stayed home because of the storm." My blood froze. "Who unlocked the store then?" I whispered. He exhaled shakily. "Nobody. I have the only keys besides corporate." That's when the door chime rang again. Ding. Dong. Slow. Dragged. Not right. I turned toward the entrance. The lights flickered, and through the glass, through the rain, I saw something standing outside. Tall, bending its head against the glass like it was trying to see inside. Reese was still talking, but I couldn't hear a word. The thing outside lifted one long hand, pressed it against the door. The glass bowed inward, actually bowed, like rubber stretching. I dropped the phone. I backed away. The lights went out. The ending. I don't remember getting out. I don't remember the run, or the rain, or the moment I got into my car. All I remember is waking up in my apartment the next morning, clothes still wet, keys still in my shaking hand. Dollartown never opened again. Corporate boarded it up within 2 days. No explanation, no statement, just a sign that said, "Store closed until further notice." It's been years now. I moved again, far away. I don't tell many people what happened that night. Most wouldn't believe me anyway. But sometimes, when I pass by a dollar store, I swear I see something inside, something too tall, something watching. And sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still hear that door chime. Ding, dong, slow, dragged, wrong. I don't go near any dollar store anymore, not after what followed me home. I never planned on spending 4 years of my life working at a Dollar Tree in the middle of nowhere, but that's how life goes when the bills keep piling up faster than the opportunities do. Back when I first moved to Coldwater, Ohio, a tiny wind-blown town where the Walmart closed, but the potholes never did, I promised myself I'd only stay a few months, just long enough to get back on my feet after everything with my mom fell apart. But months turned into years, and the Dollar Tree became routine. Not good, not exciting, just a quiet, easy place where nothing much happened. I wanted that. I needed that. After the chaos I'd come from, silence felt safe, at least until the new manager arrived. But I'll get there. To understand why the next part hit me so hard, I have to explain where my head was at. My mom and I never had the best relationship. She struggled with pills, then alcohol, then pills again. By the time I graduated high school, I felt like the parent. Eventually, I reached a point where I couldn't help anymore. I moved out, cut ties, told myself I'd come back once I had my life in order. 3 months later, she overdosed. I still don't know if she meant to. The guilt settled inside me like wet cement. I carried it everywhere. In the Dollar Tree break room, on late shifts, in the aisles full of cheap plastic toys and off-brand snacks. It never went away. That's why I liked working the morning shift. Less time to think, more time to just do things. So when corporate announced we were getting a new night manager who'd be reorganizing the store, I didn't care much. I barely worked nights. That changed fast. His name was Mr. Ernest Kellen. Not Ernest like a friendly grandpa. More like the kind of Ernest who writes his name in small, sharp letters. He was in his 60s, maybe older, with silver hair kept too neat and a stiff posture like someone ironed him every morning. He had this calm, old-fashioned politeness that felt rehearsed. He showed up early on a Monday morning, right when we were unloading a truck. I was hauling boxes of seasonal decorations when I heard a voice behind me. "Excuse me," he said softly. "You must be Ian." I nearly dropped the box. His voice was quiet but not weak, more like controlled, like someone whispering right behind your ear even when they're standing 6 feet away. "Yeah," I said, awkwardly shaking his hand. "That's me. You're the new manager?" He nodded once. "Call me Mr. Kellen. Not Ernest, not Ernie. Mr. Kellen." He said it like I wasn't allowed to forget it. He looked around the store, his pale blue eyes drifting over shelves, end caps, ceiling tiles. Almost like he was memorizing everything in slow motion. "This place has history," he murmured. I laughed nervously. "Yeah, like expired potato chips and missing price tags." He didn't laugh. He just smiled, thin and tight. That was my first weird moment with him, but not the last. The first week seemed normal enough, but then the small things started. 1. The night logs. He created a new policy. Every night employee had to write in a notebook called the night log. Nothing wrong with that, except his entries were strange. They weren't instructions or notes. They were observations. "The store is restless tonight. The back aisles feel longer than usual. I heard footsteps overhead at 2:17 a.m. But the roof is flat." At first, we all joked that he was just old and dramatic, but something about his handwriting made me uneasy. Thin, shaky letters that slanted upward, like they were trying to crawl off the page. 2. The aisle sensors. The motion sensors in aisles 7 through 9 kept going off after closing. Corporate blamed humidity issues, but I've never seen humidity track footsteps. 3. The whistling employees who worked nights said they heard whistling, soft, inconsistent, like someone trying to remember a tune they once knew. They always said it came from the same place, behind the toy aisle, where the storage wall was thinnest, where the old manager's office used to be back before the renovation. I brushed it all off. At the time, I didn't believe in ghosts. I barely believed in myself. But then came the night I stayed late. It was a Thursday, inventory day. Everyone hates inventory day because it means staying late, counting cheap crap nobody actually wants, and pretending the scanner isn't broken when it obviously is. We were supposed to have 5 people, but 2 called out sick and 1 quit earlier that week after a weird feeling in the stockroom, whatever that meant. So it was me, Jessa, a sarcastic cashier in her 20s, and Mr. Kellen. Around 10:30 p.m., Jessa rubbed her eyes and said, "I swear this store gets creepier at night, like the lights get dimmer on purpose." I laughed. "Yeah, okay. The store's haunted by a ghost who died because the prices were too damn low." She smirked. "Don't talk about your mom like that." It was a cheap shot, but she didn't mean it. She didn't know the details. She knew I had a rough past, but not the specifics. I forced a laugh. We kept working until she finally got the go-ahead to leave at 11:15. Then it was just me and him. The store felt different the second she left. Like the temperature dropped, but only in certain aisles. Kellen looked at me. "Ian," he said quietly, "could you check the receiving room? I believe something was delivered early." "Sure." I headed toward the back. The hall leading to the stockroom felt wrong, like it was narrower than usual. I could smell something faintly metallic, like old coins or blood, but not quite. I pushed open the stockroom door. It was ice cold, the kind of cold that burns your nose. The shelves looked normal. The pallets were organized, but the far corner, the one where the old office used to be before they knocked it down, was darker than it should have been. I took a step, and another, and I heard it, whistling, soft, off tune, like someone whistling through cracked lips. I froze. "Hello?" I called out. The whistling stopped, then shifted, behind me. I spun around. Nothing, just cold air. I walked backward until my shoulder hit a stack of boxes. My breath puffed out in white fog. Fog. In a room with no AC vent. "What the hell?" I whispered. That's when I heard the second sound. A voice. Just one word. "Ian." Not shouted, not whispered, but spoken directly beside my ear. I stumbled forward, heart slamming in my chest, and standing in the doorway, blocking my way, was Mr. Kellen. Except he wasn't looking at me. He was staring into the dark corner. His eyes were wider than I'd ever seen them. "They're listening," he whispered. "Who?" I asked, breath shaking. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped aside, letting me leave the room. But he didn't follow, just stood there, watching the corner. I left without clocking out. The reveal. The next morning, the assistant manager Vera walked in with her usual annoyed expression. I asked, "Is Kellen in yet?" She looked confused. "Who?" "Kellen, the new manager." She snorted. "Honey, we don't have a night manager right now. Corporate's still interviewing. You okay?" My stomach sank. "Vera, he's been working with us for a week." She rolled her eyes. "Unless he's invisible, no he hasn't." I rushed to the break room. The night log notebook was gone. His locker, empty. His name never appeared on the schedule. I even checked the paperwork files. Nothing, no hiring documents, no HR forms, no background check, no employee badge request. There was no Ernest Kellen, not registered, not recorded, not real, except when I walked into aisle 9 to restock batteries, I noticed something shoved behind the bottom shelf, a small folded piece of paper. I pulled it out. Old, yellowed, crinkled, it was a night log entry, not from this week, but dated 1994. Same handwriting, same slanted letters. It read, "The store is restless tonight. The walls remember. There's someone new in the aisles. He doesn't know he's dead." I felt my throat close. Someone behind me whispered, "Ian." I turned. No one, but the motion sensor light blinked on by itself. I quit the next morning. They asked why, and I didn't know how to explain it without sounding insane, so I just said family issues and cleared out my locker. But sometimes, when I drive past the store, late at night on my way home, I see the lights inside flicker, and through the glass, just for a split second, I swear I see him. Standing in the center aisle, pale eyes, pressed shirt, hands folded behind his back, watching the shelves like they're whispering to him. Sometimes his head slowly turns toward the window, toward me, and even from that distance, I can tell he's smiling. Not a friendly smile, not a human one. A smile of someone who's been there far longer than he should have been. A smile of someone who never truly left. Dollar Tree is cheap, but not everything you lose in there gets returned. Some things stay, some things linger, and some managers, they never clock out. I never thought an overnight job at a Dollar Tree would change the way I look at empty aisles for the rest of my life. Back in 2019, I was 23 and living in a run-down basement apartment on the south side of Warrenville, Ohio, a place where trains screamed past every night and the tap water always tasted faintly like pennies. I'd moved there after my mom passed away unexpectedly. My dad wasn't in the picture, never had been, and the only thing I inherited was a box of old Polaroids in her half-functioning 2007 Chevy. Bills stacked fast, grief stacked faster. So when the local Dollar Tree posted a sign that said "Now hiring, night stock," I didn't even think twice. $8 an hour, midnight to 8 a.m. No experience needed. It sounded like hell, but hell pays rent. The crew. Our night crew wasn't big, just 4 of us. 1, me, the new guy who needed every hour he could get. 2, supervisor Janelle Avery, late 30s, tough as nails, tattoos down both arms, called everyone kiddo. When she got annoyed, she said things like, "Jesus, take the wheel before I throw hands." 3, stalker Ray Dion, tall, red hoodie, always smelled faintly like weed, but worked faster than anyone I'd ever seen. Ray talked in that fast Ohio street slang way. "Bro, chill, ain't nobody dying tonight." He was wrong. 4, security Lionel Briggs, a retired freight yard worker in his late 60s, walkie-talkie clipped to his belt, thermos of black coffee always in hand. Lionel was quiet, polite, but he had this weird way of staring down dark aisles like he expected something to step out. One time I joked, "You okay, man? You look like you're watching ghosts." He didn't laugh. Instead, he said softly, "Kid, some places don't forget the things that walk through them." At the time, I thought old age was just making him dramatic. I wish that were the case. The store itself, our Dollar Tree sat squeezed between. An old dry cleaner with faded neon letters, a thrift shop that always smelled like boiled carpet. The building used to be a hardware store back in the 80s, then a temporary Halloween shop, then empty for almost a decade, until Dollar Tree picked it up cheap. Locals said the place had history, but in Warrenville, everything had history. Mostly unpaid taxes, sketchy owners, or electrical issues. From day one, I noticed 2 things. 1, the back stockroom was always cold, even on humid July nights. 2, aisle 4's overhead lights sometimes flickered for a full minute, even after they replaced the ballast. Corporate said it was electrical fatigue, and nothing to worry about. Lionel didn't buy it. He carried a small silver cross in his pocket and rubbed it with his thumb whenever the lights blinked. I thought it was just superstition. But then came February 18th, the night everything went wrong, and the night I realized why Lionel walked with that cross in hand. The night of it was a Tuesday. Tuesdays were always dead quiet. We clocked in at 12:03 a.m. Freezing outside, single digits, bitter wind, the kind of cold that makes metal ache. Inside, the heater struggled, humming loudly like an old fridge. Janelle clapped her hands once. "All right, kiddos, 2 pallets tonight, mostly Valentine's clearance and early Easter stuff. Let's knock it out before sunup." Ray groaned. "Man, holiday whiplash is real." We all got to work. I was unwrapping boxes of plastic eggs and paper grass when Lionel stopped near the stockroom door and frowned. "What's up?" I asked. He pointed at the floor. There were faint, wet footprints leading across the concrete, not shoe prints, bare feet. Small, child-sized. The thing that made my stomach twist. They weren't heading in, they were heading out. Ray laughed nervously. Probably some kid earlier, right? Lionel shook his head. These are fresh. Janelle raised an eyebrow. Lionel, we locked the place at 10. No one's come in since. Lionel didn't answer. He just took out his flashlight and followed the prints. We kept working, trying not to think about it. But the store felt different that night. Heavier, like the air itself had weight. 1:47 a.m. Ray and I were restocking candy when the overhead lights flickered. Just once, then again. Then rapid, a stuttering seizure of white light. Not this crap again, Ray said. Yo, aisle 4's having a whole moment. Janelle called from across the store. Everyone hold up. Lionel, check the panel. But Lionel didn't answer. His walkie-crackle buzzed, then static. I grabbed the scanner gun and walked toward aisle 4. Lionel, you good? The light at the end of the aisle blinked violently, then steadied. When it did, I froze. Because someone was standing there. A girl, maybe 8 or 9. Long, tangled hair covering her face. Bare feet. A thin white shirt with a faded blue cartoon whale on it. She was facing the shelf of foam hearts and glitter glue. Just standing, completely still. Hello? I said, voice cracking. No movement. Are you lost? Store's closed. She didn't respond. I took one slow step forward. Ray whispered behind me, Bro, don't. Then the lights cut out. Not flickered, just total blackout. Pitch dark. I heard Ray suck in a breath. I heard something else too. A small giggle. Soft. Right in front of me. I fumbled for my phone flashlight, hands shaking. When light finally hit, the girl was gone. But the footprints remained. Dozens of them. Layered over each other like she'd been pacing in circles. Ray grabbed my shoulder hard. Dude, we need to find Lionel. Right now. Searching for Lionel. Janelle met us halfway down the aisle. What the hell happened? Lights cut out for 3 seconds. There was a kid, I said. Ray nodded fast. Barefoot. Pale. Just gone. Janelle rolled her eyes. Really? This another one of your jokes? Ray snapped. Does it look like I'm joking? Before she could argue, Lionel's walkie came alive. Static. Then a whisper, greater than aisle 10. But his voice didn't sound right. It sounded strained, like someone was pushing his words out of him. We rushed to aisle 10, the party supplies aisle. Streamers, balloons, paper plates. Empty. No Lionel. But something was there. A balloon. A single red one, floating in the middle of the aisle. Tethered to nothing. Just hovering chest level. Perfectly still, despite the AC draft. What in the actual? Ray started. The balloon popped. Loud. The sound echoed like a gunshot. And when it popped, something fell to the floor. Lionel's silver cross. Nope, Ray said, backing away. Nope. Janelle picked up the cross with trembling fingers. This isn't funny. Lionel, where are you? Silence. Then faintly, from the back of the store. Tap, 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 like bare feet slapping linoleum slowly. Approaching. Ray whispered, Dude, she's coming. The back stockroom. Janelle wasn't the type to scare easy, but that night, her hands shook. Stay close, she said. Nobody wanders off. We walked toward the back stockroom door. The tapping stopped. I pushed the door open. The cold hit instantly, a sharp, unnatural cold. Ray muttered, Feels like a damn freezer in here. The lights were dim. Half were flickering. In the center of the stockroom was a trail of footprints leading behind the storage cages. Lionel's flashlight lay on the floor, still on, beam shivering slightly. Lionel, I called out. You back here? A faint sound answered, breathing, slow, raspy. Not a kid's breathing, deeper, worse. We turned the corner. Janelle gasped. Ray cursed under his breath. I felt my stomach drop because Lionel was there, sort of. He was standing facing the wall, forehead pressed against the cinder block, arms limp at his sides, his whole body trembling. "Lionel," Janelle said, voice shaking. "Hey, talk to us." He didn't move. I stepped closer. "Sir, it's me. You okay?" His hand twitched. Then he whispered, "She said don't look." I froze. "Who?" I asked. He lifted one shaking finger and pointed behind us. We turned. The little girl was standing 5 feet away, head tilted, hair covering her face, feet pale and dirty. She whispered in a voice that wasn't a child's voice. It was layered, like many voices speaking at once. "Why did you follow me?" I felt every hair on my arms rise. Ray dropped the box he was holding. The sound startled her, and her face twitched, like she was barely holding a shape together. I grabbed Ray and pulled him behind the metal shelf. "Don't look at her," Lionel rasped. "Don't." Too late. Janelle looked, just 1 second too long. The girl's head jerked unnaturally, and the air snapped with a noise like breaking sticks. Janelle screamed, and something yanked her backward into the dark. Fast. Violent. Ray shouted, "Jan, no!" I grabbed him before he ran after her. "Don't!" I yelled. Silence swallowed the room. Lionel slumped to his knees, shaking uncontrollably. "She wants one," he whispered. "She always wants one." The history, we dragged Lionel back into the lit aisle before the girl could reappear. He was sweating, freezing cold, lips pale. "What is that thing?" I asked. He shook his head. "Not a thing. A mark. This building." He coughed, voice breaking. "This used to be the old Briarwood Hardware." "So?" Ray asked. Lionel's eyes were wide with terror. "A girl went missing here in '87, 8 years old. Name was Cora Loudon. Last seen walking out of the paint aisle with a man nobody recognized. Police never found her." "So you're saying—" "I'm saying whatever happened to that child never left this building." Ray exhaled shakily. "Bro, no. Lionel gripped my arm. "She's not a ghost. She's stuck, angry, hungry." The lights in aisle 6 flickered hard. "She doesn't like when people walk where she walked," Lionel said, "and tonight we were in her path." Ray swallowed. "So what do we do?" Lionel closed his eyes. "We leave." We headed toward the front exit fast. The store felt alive. The aisles too narrow, the lights too dim, shadows too deep. Halfway to the door, the walk-in cooler in the break room slammed open on its own. Ray jumped. "Hell no. Nope, I'm out." But when we reached the front doors, they wouldn't open. Janelle had the keys, and she wasn't with us anymore. Ray pulled the handle hard. "Come on, man." It didn't budge. Behind us, a soft giggle floated through the aisles. Lionel whispered, "She's here." We pressed against the glass door like panicked animals. "Back door," I said. "Loading dock." We sprinted. The aisles blurred past. As we reached aisle 8, the lights overhead blew out, one by one, like bulbs shattering in a line. Pop, 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 pop. Ray screamed, "Go, go, go." We reached the stock room. The loading dock door was half open, snow blowing in. Lionel ran first. Ray followed. I turned back once. I shouldn't have, but I did. She was standing at the far end of the aisle, still, watching. Her face slowly splitting into a smile that wasn't human at all. I bolted. We tumbled out into the snow, slipping on the icy asphalt. Ray slammed the metal dock door shut. We ran into the dark parking lot until we collapsed by the dumpster. Lionel fell to his knees, shaking. Ray cried openly, breath steaming in the cold. I just stared at the loading dock door, expecting it to burst open. But it didn't. Police showed up at 6 a.m. after Lionel called in a break-in emergency. They searched the store, found nothing. No girl, no footprints, no trace of Janelle. They found her keys under a shelf in aisle 10, placed neatly, like someone set them there intentionally. Corporate came the next day, closed the store for electrical repairs, reopened in 3 weeks with new staff. They never contacted me. Never asked Ray or Lionel for statements. Never acknowledged Janelle was gone. Lionel quit the very next morning. Ray left town within the month. I moved back to my childhood home 2 states away. But sometimes, late at night, my phone buzzes with a notification I never subscribed to. Motion detected. Stockroom camera. Every time there's a screenshot attached. Dark room, cold concrete, shelves fading into shadow, and a small figure standing barefoot in the middle of the floor, head tilted, hair hanging forward, waiting. I never planned on working nights for the Dollar Tree off Hawthorne Road. Honestly, I only applied because rent was killing me and my car insurance had jumped again. But that place, that store, it changed something in me. And no matter how much distance I put between then and now, the memories crawl back like shadows that learned my name. My name is Jalen Cooper, and this is what happened during my last shift. I'll start from the beginning, the real beginning, because people never understand unless they know the whole picture. Backstory: I moved to Maplewood, Ohio after my mom passed. She always told me Maplewood was quiet, safe, one of those towns where the loudest thing is the church bell. She lied. Or maybe she just didn't see the things I ended up seeing. I took the graveyard shift because no one else wanted it. The manager, Donna, practically hugged me when I said I'd do it. "Midnights?" she said, eyebrows high. "Kid, that shift eats people alive." "I need the hours," I said. "I'll manage." "You'll manage," she repeated quietly, like she didn't believe it. And she was right. For almost a year, things were routine. Stock shelves, face products, deal with drunk customers walking in at 12:15 a.m. looking for chips that cost exactly $1.25. Nothing weird, nothing dangerous, until February 19th, late winter, ice on the sidewalks, cold air with that metallic smell like a storm waiting. I clocked in at 11:16 p.m. Sharp, same as always. I had a coffee from Speedway, gloves sticking out of my jacket pocket, and my earbuds half tangled. When I walked into the store, Donna was already clocking out. "You good tonight, Jalen?" she asked. "Yeah, same ol'. What's on the list?" She handed me a clipboard. "Seasonal aisle's a mess, and the truck was supposed to unload before your shift. The driver said he might be late." "Might." She shrugged. He didn't sound too sure. Said something about a detour. "All right," I said, flipping through the list. She hesitated before leaving. "If you hear anything weird tonight, don't ignore it." I laughed. "Donna, come on, you always do this. Just be careful." And she left. 11:30 p.m., the start. I started in the seasonal aisle, just like the list said. We were between Valentine's and Easter, so it looked like Cupid had fought a rabbit, and both sides lost. Plastic hearts everywhere. Chocolate eggs crushed on the floor. I was kneeling to restock some floral foam blocks when I heard it. Creak. The back delivery door. That door was heavy. Industrial metal. You couldn't open it without force. I stood up slowly. "Hello?" I called out. "Truck guy, that you?" No answer. I grabbed the store flashlight, heavy, black, scratched up from years of being dropped, and walked toward the stockroom. The hallway light flickered like it always did. Donna had put in a maintenance request months ago, but corporate said it wasn't a priority. It flickered again as I reached the stockroom. Inside, the air was cold, colder than outside. Cold enough that I could see my breath in a faint white fog. There was a pallet in the center of the room. One huge, plain brown box on top. No labels, no stickers, no barcodes, no nothing. Dollar Tree shipments always had stickers, product IDs, color-coded labels. I frowned. "What the hell?" I tapped the box, solid, heavy. Then I heard a voice behind me, soft, whispery. "Hey." I spun around. Nothing. Just shelves, empty carts, the baler machine humming. "Yo," I muttered, heartbeat climbing. "Don't start that creepy shit, man." I moved back to the pallet and froze. 2 more boxes, stacked neatly beside the first. I whispered, "No way, no freaking way." They weren't there 5 seconds ago. "Hello?" My voice cracked. "If someone's here, you need to say something. This isn't funny." Silence. The boxes I called Donna. Straight to voicemail. I tried 911. No signal. I cursed under my breath. Figures. I knelt beside the first box and pulled the flap open. Inside, rows of dolls. Dozens. Not new, not packaged. These were old. Some cracked, some missing eyes, some with faces rubbed off like they'd been dragged through dirt. They were sitting upright, facing me. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. Behind me, I heard it again. Tap, 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 light footsteps. Barely there. I turned slowly, flashlight swinging across the room. Nobody. I swallowed hard. "Jalen, chill. It's just maybe a prank. Maybe Donna set this up. Some kind of messed up joke." Then I heard breathing. Right behind me. Warm. Slow. Close enough that the hair on my neck rose. I whipped around. No one. But the dolls. The dolls had turned their heads toward me. "All right, screw this." I backed away, bumping into a rack of mops. I grabbed the metal handle tight like it was a weapon. Then the overhead lights went out. Pitch black. I heard small feet pattering across the floor. Dozens of them. Fast. "Nope, nope, I'm out." I ran blind. Hands out. Crashing into boxes, carts, shelves. Something tugged at my pant leg. Tiny fingers. Fabric snag. I don't know. I kicked hard and kept running. The hallway lights buzzed back on just long enough for me to see a shadow dart across the end of the hallway. Small, human-shaped, too fast. Get me out. The front door. I bolted toward the front entrance and yanked the handle. Locked. It shouldn't have been locked. Fire safety rules said doors had to stay unlockable from inside at all times. I slammed my shoulder into it. "Open!" Behind me, I heard whispers. So many whispers. Some laughing, some crying, some humming a melody I knew I'd heard before but couldn't place. I hit the door again, and again. Finally, click. It swung open, and I fell into the cold parking lot air. I ran to my car, hands shaking so bad I dropped my keys twice. As I started the engine, I looked back at the store. The stockroom lights were glowing. Something moved inside. Boxes, stacked high, shaking, like something inside wanted out. I drove home so fast I don't even remember the streets. Behind me, the whispers didn't stop until I reached my driveway. Next morning, I called Donna at 8 a.m. She sounded tired. "You okay?" "No." "What the hell happened last night? Those boxes, did you see them?" "Jalen," she sighed. "There were no boxes." "What?" "Stockroom is empty. I checked, so did corporate. There's nothing there." My stomach twisted. "Donna, don't gaslight me. I know what I saw." "I believe you saw something," she said softly. "But the cameras didn't catch anything." "What about the dolls? The voices? There's nothing, Jalen. Nothing." I quit that night, but it didn't end. Every few weeks I drive past that Dollar Tree. I keep telling myself I shouldn't look, but I always do. And sometimes, late at night, I see shadows moving behind the stockroom window. Boxes stacked neatly, dolls sitting in rows. And if I roll the window down, I can hear it. That soft, slow tapping, like fingernails on cardboard, like something counting, waiting for the next graveyard shift.